you posted on your Facebook page this morning or yesterday morning asking people in Evanston, particularly in the Black community,
right.
Who affected their lives and who were their OGs.
In the American understanding, OG means original gangster. That's where it came from. But in my context, for my culture, OG means a person who's lived on the street and has survived, and he carries a certain amount of wisdom. It's almost an honor to be called an OG because you survived. Well, there's two economies. There's the underground economy and there's the normal economy. And what happens is, I'll use an example of my own OG to explain this to you. When I started to have trouble in school in my freshman year, I saw that I wasn't going to be able, my intellect did not match up to my grade.
So you mean your grades didn't match up to your
intellect? My intellect, right. What I decided to do was I was going to sell marijuana. So I took and went and bought a quarter pound of marijuana, and I sat in front of Cheek's barbershop. I'm like 14 years old. And one of the older, who I call OGs, who is Ricky Porter, he pulled up on me and he said, "Little Logan, what are you doing?" And I told him I was about to sell some reefer. He took the weed from me and kicked me in my butt and made me go back to school. Now later on he gave me my money and my marijuana back, but he said, "You need to get your butt in that school and learn and quit trying to be part of this street thing." And what I mean by OG is there's this wisdom of men who have gone through this lifestyle, who understand what they need to impart on younger people. And usually what happens is once you get to a level of respect, people start calling you OG. I didn't even realize it, but a lot of people see that in me now that I'm older because I spent my time on both sides of the economy and I survived.
So tell me about the positive aspects of being an OG and...
Well, I think one of the things is intelligence and wisdom from the narrative of white America wouldn't be on the street or standing in a pool room or standing outside on the corner. They don't see that. They see that as just the corner part. That wisdom is from a lifetime of surviving on the other side of the economy and living through it. And there are some very wise people who have done that. They talked about everybody. I mean, they talked about Ralph Green, who was Keisha Robinson's father, because he was a very strong, large black man who demanded respect, and people respected him. And the younger street people respected him. When I'm growing up, Ralph Green he's like the law. What he says goes. If he tells you to leave the corner, you leave.
And are these OGs, are they on the other side of the law themselves and trying to get people?
Not always. It depends on what they are is people who use any adaptable means to survive. So I wouldn't call it on the other side of the law, but are they trying to get the American dream through the back door? Most of the time. They don't have the opportunity to do it the other way. But what I'm trying to make people understand is there's a wisdom in that street man that is not talked about, a type of wisdom that gets passed down from, what's funny is Stacy Maraney and Martell Norman are two people who were younger than me and watched me as I grow up. And even now, when they see me, they call me OG. It's just a natural way of doing things.
Now, are they considered OGs? Because they both grew up in one way. And
probably now they are, yes. Well, you won't know these names because they're neighborhood names, but Larry Perry from the Perry family is a guy who grew up before me, and he always imparted his wisdom to me daily. I lived on Hoagland, he lived on Brown. Every time I came through, he'd say, "Little Logan, let me talk to you." And he'd impart wisdom on me every day. What's really interesting is that OG has a really funny type of connotation in the outside world because they think of it as gangbanger or street person, but really what it is a person who has a certain different type of wisdom, and that wisdom is not validated by the larger world, but it exists and it keeps a lot of us alive. Well, I can probably think of it. I came to the pool room about 17 years old, where the medical center is on Church Street. When I'm a kid, it was a pool room, and I walked into the pool room, and there's a guy named Squeaky who was in there. And I thought because I had played pool in a few places that I was ready. So I don't know if you know this game, but in 9-ball, the game of 9-ball, you shoot 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and you win money when you sink the 9-ball. Well, I thought I was ready, so I told him to give me extra money ball. So he gave me the 5, the 6, the 7, the 8, and the 9, and then started to run the table. And he took about $200 from me that I had got for over summer work. And then he took it from me, and he sat me down and said, "Little Logan, here's $50 back." I said, "Why are you giving me this?" He said, "The other was a $150 lesson for you to know that you don't belong here."
And then when you told me about how you left school when you were 14 to sell marijuana because your grades weren't good, what was your intention?
My intention was like all the intention of all the young people. There's another way for me to make money. I don't have to go home and ask my mother for money. I see people smoking weed everywhere. I know that if I have some, they'll buy it from me. I was trying to create my own little entrepreneurial business.
And were you thinking that because you weren't doing well at school, you were going to have to figure out another way? Or?
Yes, in a lot of ways. But I also knew that I had seen those who were older than me, how they had gone away from high school. Some of them didn't go to college. Most of them went to Cook County. More went to Cook County than went to college. So I figured I better make myself some money now.
And did you worry about getting caught?
No, what's really interesting about my own personal life is I'm protected in two different ways. Part of my family is nothing but these street people, and the other part of my family was the Evanston Police Department, so I didn't have that fear. Really interesting. Now, if you read the writings of, when I tell you about this guy, Ricky Porter, when you read, if you go and look up Ricky Porter, like Google his name, you'll get a whole different story than what I'm telling you. But this man cared about me. He did not want me to get into a life that he was in. He was trying to stop me from walking into the alley.
Give me another.
Terry Pettigrew probably would be a great example because he lived across the street from me. Now here's what's really interesting. On Holden Court, there's heroin being sold on Holden Court when I'm a young man. And the neighbors get together and ask the person who's selling the heroin to stop selling at 7 o'clock. He shuts down, no police shut him down, the neighborhood shuts him down, tells him that he cannot be selling heroin at night. And he doesn't do it. He doesn't sell not another gram because the neighborhood asked him to stop. And it's just that respect of those older people. He knew it, he felt it, just like I felt it. You knew that you couldn't go against the cultural norm.
And so the neighborhood was okay with him selling it?
It's not that they were okay with it. They understood that he needed to make money like anybody else needed to make money.
And there were people who needed the heroin.
And there was people who needed the heroin, right. It's capitalism at its best. I hate to say it. But what's really interesting is that the country can put people in jail who are on the lowest end of these economic engines. If you think that some little guy on Church Street is making money on cocaine, my old roommate Al had 2 kilos in his refrigerator when the feds busted him in his house. He got 6 months. I know people who've had 2 rocks in their pocket and got more than 6 months. Al's white, yeah.
When everybody was responding to your question,
these are Evanston people who have lived in this town for years. When Kevin Clay said something, Kevin Clay is my idea of an OG. He was naming people who are older than him that did the same thing for him. And when they were talking about people like Ralph and these other people, and Goo Thomas. These people are my mother's age, and they did the same thing to the generation above me. And that passed down wisdom. Hopefully, I can stand up to those standards and continue to pass that type of wisdom down because they did a great thing for me.
What is the wisdom?
Well, here's the wisdom. There's an urban jungle out there. And, there's really truly lion, tigers, and bears. And what this wisdom is to teach you how to navigate your way through the lions, the tigers, and the bears. And to survive it, feed your family, allow you to stay alive, and, don't get killed or don't get put in Cook County jail. And that wisdom is to make you aware of what's around you.
So it was more about how to navigate through your own community?
My own community, and even the white community, because or even riding around at night with marijuana in your car, you're taught you don't do that because you know that the police department at 11 o'clock brings out a lot of police cars, and it's stupid for you to be out there in that nighttime with illegal contraband in your car riding around. It's just dumb. And older street people told you this. You don't do dumb stuff like that. You don't drink in the car because you know you're a black man. You cannot be having a bottle in your car drinking. It's asking for trouble.
And is this stuff that you imparted to your own kids and
Yes.
to other kids around?
I imparted this type of wisdom to everybody who came to Family Focus, everybody who I dealt with in Community Builders.
And what about the idea of just, you know, what you're telling me, what you're talking about with the OG sort of
Let's call it an urban intellectual, because OG denotes something else. We'll just call it an urban intellectual, a person who understands the nature of the beast that you're working in. I'll give you another example of an OG. Fuzzy Washington was a cop in the Evanston Police Department. He was an OG to me. Now I'll tell you a little story. I was smoking marijuana on Lake Street in the garage, and he pulled up in his police car, and they came up the stairs, and I jumped out.
This is when you were a kid?
I was 16, 17 years old. I jumped out. I ran. All I heard was, "Little Logan, I'll be at your house before you get there." And what he was telling me was that there's no sense in me running. I know who you are. I know who you belong to. And I'm going to tell them before you get home. And that's just what he did. When I got home, he was sitting on my porch.
So when you talk about, you know, when you were building Baku and you would take drug packets off people to make sure that they didn't get caught because everything had to be on the up and up, was there a message as well? This isn't a good thing to be doing.
Well, yes,
or just don't get caught doing it.
No, it was the message that this is weakening our community. Yes, but I also know that just as people get strung out on the drug, people get strung out on that income, and to cut off that income and tell them, well, now take $10 an hour, try to do the same thing you've been. It's a big ask. So you know, I understood that because I've been in that same situation. The mainstream network does not open its arms and allow you to enter. It's like, you know, I consider myself a really smart man, but right now, if you were to ask me what paperwork I can prove my intelligence with, I can't do it.
University of Church and Dodge.
That's right, the University of Church and Dodge. Right. Exactly.